Let's transition to the inside scoop. What are the brokers talking about, broker to broker? This is what the real estate agents are talking about right now behind the scenes inside the industry. As we reported earlier in the program, the residential market is hot, the commercial market is not. Can residential prices continue to climb in the midst of high unemployment and commercial vacancies? I'm not so sure about that. There could be a flood of foreclosures coming down the pipeline. Over 4 million Americans through the COVID-19 crisis stopped paying their mortgage. That's nearly 8% of all mortgages in America. Although we have not seen foreclosures in many years, we may see some foreclosures in the years to come, especially in the commercial market, possibly the business market, and to some extent, the residential market. But in my opinion, we're not going to see anything like we saw in the residential crisis of 2008. This round, we have a different situation. We have a health pandemic. Many of them are getting their jobs back today that have lost their jobs, but they quit paying their mortgage and they're in forbearance. What does forbearance mean? That means you quit paying your mortgage, but the lender agrees not to foreclose on you. However, you have to pay that money back. Once you start paying your mortgage, you have to make up all the principal and interest that you missed. So is that going to create a flood of foreclosures coming to the market? Dorothy, Robert, Andy, what's your forecast? What's coming down the pipeline? Do you see the potential for another foreclosure crisis in the years to come? We'll start with you, Dorothy.
I do not see a foreclosure rate like what we saw in 2012. Right now it's below 1% in Orange County, according to the Orange County Housing Report. I don't see it getting that high again. I have faith that we're going to stay strong in this market.
That's good. Well, something has to be done. Either the lenders are going to have to tack that principal and interest to the back end of the loans and modify the loans, or the homeowners are going to have to be given some relief, because I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody is paying $3,000 a month, they quit paying for 6 months. They're going to have about a $20,000 bill that they have to pay just to start paying that $3,000 a month mortgage again. So Robert, what's your thought? You went through several foreclosure crises in your career. Is this a leading indicator? What are we going to see coming down the pipeline here?
Well, I think the forbearance trend was ill-educated to the general population. I'll give you an example. I have a buyer who was looking to invest in a second Airbnb because her first one is killing it. And she applied for a loan, but lo and behold, she had exercised her forbearance that was offered to her through Wells Fargo. Little did she know that it would affect her credit. And just by having that a remark of forbearance on her credit report, actually on her mortgage report, the lender, she ended up having to trade lenders in the middle of a transaction as a result of that. So I think right now that yes, forbearance was given in such a way that almost it was a gift, but in reality, we're going to find out what's going to happen in the long run once people start trying to move that money again and invest in other mortgages.
So it sounds like people didn't quite understand that yes, you can take the forbearance. It's not going to show up as a late on your credit report. However, there is going to be some indication that you are in forbearance on your credit report, which could stop you from refinancing or potentially buying another home. Is that accurate, Robert?
Yeah, and I think the rules are that if you have paid your mortgage 3 months consecutively post forbearance, that will actually eliminate that little credit blip. At least it did with Wells Fargo.
Makes sense. And Andy, what are your thoughts? Foreclosure flood? Or is this just a house of cards and we don't know what's coming at us?
Well, yeah, well, I wish I could predict the future on that one, but I think you have a good point. You know, there's a lot of people out there that have been maybe helped with their cash flow, but you're going to have to pay the piper sometime. And so with that coming into play, a lot of it depends on, you know, this election, because I think whoever comes into office is going to have to maybe set some policy, maybe do an executive order or pass some sort of legislation that gives people that went through the forbearance a break, or maybe they can tack it on to the end of their mortgage and, you know, move on just as business as usual as we get back to normal. But I think something's going to have to give.
It'll be interesting to see. Up next, Robert Sizer reports on the latest affordability numbers, and after, Dorothy Dawn wraps things up with health and wellness tips to keep you sane in this insane market. Stay tuned.